was 1992 actually, and I was struggling, guys. I had lost like 4 or 5 straight games in a row, and I didn't just lose those games. Teams were beating me up like it was unmerciful. Like I wasn't even pitching 5 innings. I was giving up 8, 9, 10, 11 runs. I was getting killed. And I'm going to tell you something. When you're getting killed and you're expected to win, the newspapers, the writers, the reporters, they're not kind to you. The fans, they start booing you. So there's a lot of other crap that goes along with that scenario. I promise you that. You start looking over your shoulder. You start wondering. And I remember I called my father. And I said, Dad, I said, man, I'm struggling. I said, my dad at the time, he was a coach and for another major league team. And I called him and I said, Dad, I said, I'm struggling. I'm like, I feel like, if I make a good pitch, I might be jamming a hitter and he's like, and they're getting base hits and bleeding balls into the outfield, and I make a bad pitch and guys hitting home runs and doubles and triples off the wall. I said, Dad, I stink, man. It's like, and I feel like even when I make a good pitch, I can't get anyone out. Think about that. Think about my mindset when I call my father. Think about the words I just described. Lack of belief, man. I'm beaten down. My vision was collapsing on me. And my father said to me, and I'll never forget this, and he says, Todd, he says, I've actually seen some of your highlights on ESPN. I said, Dad, they're not good, man. And ESPN at the time, they were crucifying me. and they were making a joke out of me. And I called Dad, and I was like, I trusted him, right? He had all the validation, 3-time 20-game winner, 5-time All-Star, one of the, if not the best pitching coach in the history of the game. And that's my father, that's my coach, that's my mentor, that's the person I trust. And I said, Dad, I don't know. And he says, well, I've watched some of your highlights. And he says, and here's what I will tell you, Todd. He said, those hits that you're giving up that you believe you're making good pitches are all elevated. They're up in the strike zone. And these hitters are so good, they're so strong. And he says, you might be jamming them, and in your mind, you're making a good pitch, but they're so strong and so talented that they're fighting off a pitch because it's elevated in the strike zone. They're fighting it off, and they're bleeding hits into the outfield. And then when you make a mistake out over the plate that's elevated, guys are getting extended on it. They're hitting doubles, triples, and home runs. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. And he says, here's what I want you to do. In between your starts, you have a bullpen session. He says, I want you to work on just, and keep it really simple. Let's go back to the basics. He says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to stay back, right? Get your weight, delivery, stay back. And I want you to think down in the strike zone where you attack the strike zone down around the knees. Too many pitches are elevated. I need you to bring the ball down. And I want you to be aggressive in the strike zone, so I want you to stay back, finish strong, and think down. I said, okay, I got it. Stay back, finish strong, right? Think down in the strike zone. That's simple, I can get that. He says, there's one other thing. I said, okay, what's that, Dad? He said, on the inside of your hat. He says, I want you to write this word in big letters under the bill of your hat. He goes, I said, okay, what's the word? He said, KISS. I said, what? He said, K.I.S.S. And I said, you want me to write KISS under the bill of my hat? I said, okay. He says, do you know what it stands for? No. He says it stands for keep it, right? Keep it simple, stupid. See, my dad broke the game of baseball down to its simplest form because he could hear and feel my frustration. He could hear and feel my confusion. He could feel my lack of belief. He then said, listen to me. He says, you just need to keep the game simple. Stay back, finish strong, pound the strike zone down in the count, and let the guys playing behind you field the ball. And I'm like, I can do this. I'm a major league pitcher. I can stay back, I can finish strong, I can think down in the strike zone. And then he says, and every single time your mind starts to get clouded, every time you start to get a little bit frustrated, anytime you start thinking besides anything but staying back, finishing strong, and down in the strike zone, anytime you think anything different than that, take off your hat, read the word. Keep it simple, stupid. I said, I got it. Now, to some of you, this might sound ridiculous. See, that I just told you that's the advice that I got from this guy's a Hall of Famer. You know, he's not in the Hall of Fame. That's baseball's mistake. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He was a Hall of Fame pitcher for a storied franchise. He's coached some of the greatest pitchers in the entire sport that the sport has ever seen. He's coached those guys. He's mentored them. He's been my coach, my best friend, my mentor my entire life. And he broke the game of Major League Baseball down to its simplest form for me. What's the result that I got out of this coaching? Now I want you to know something. Don't forget, before this coaching session, right, I was lacking belief. I had frustration. My vision of getting major league hitters out was like not good. Okay? I was starting to lack belief in myself, right? These are the things that were happening to me, right? I called my coach. What did he do? He believed in me when I didn't believe. My father believed in me that I could do it when I didn't believe. He provided a strategy. He shortened my learning curve to pitching good again, right? He helped me succeed. He could see things that I wasn't seeing. I thought I was making good pitches. He said, no, all these pitches are up in the start. They're actually not good pitches. My father could see the things that I couldn't see. And because I was coachable, I took the information. I went out and my next game was against a team called the Chicago White Sox in Comiskey Park in Chicago. Okay? And on that day, you listening, I took a no-hitter into the 8th inning. I gave up one hit that game against a guy by the name of Tan Pasqua. And it was hilarious. In the 8th inning, I got Robin Ventura to fly out to the left, and I thought, I have this thing. I'm 5 outs away from a no-hitter. And I got behind Dan Pasqua, 3-1. I'm winning 9-0. My catcher, Ed Spratt, comes to the mound. He said, Todd, let's just put him on and get the next guy. I was like, no way. I'm going to stay back. I'm going to finish strong and pound the strike zone and screw you, Dan Pasqua. I said, I'm not changing a thing. I'm keeping this thing. I'm going at him. And what happened? My ball wasn't down in the strike zone. It was elevated. He hit a ball into the gap for a double. I got the next 5 consecutive guys out. I threw a one-hit shutout. The single best game I ever threw in Major League Baseball. Single best game I ever threw. I threw less than 100 pitches. I threw a one-hit shutout against a Major League team after getting destroyed 5 straight starts in front of that because I went to my coach and my coach gave me clarity and belief and gave me my line of success. I hope you're getting this.